It's so good that we come together to celebrate Maddie and Kyle. What we celebrate today is not just the beginning of some relationship, and we're not celebrating some hopeful reality that one day will come, but we're celebrating the reality that here, in our midst, two become one. What we celebrate together is love. The love between Maddie and Kyle, but also the love that God has for us, both now and maybe at the end of our lives. But we have to start with love is kind of a strange word. We love each other, we love grandma, we love our family who are gathered here, we love our pets. We also love gas station hot dogs and People magazine. There's a lot going on with that with a four-letter word. And you're called to show us what love looks like. It's kind of a big task to start off with today, to show us what love looks like. And not just any love. Romance, friendship, family love, and most especially the kind of love that God has for each and every one of us. Your relationship probably started, in fact, I know it started with friendship because it was mutual friends that brought you both together. And it started with doing things together where you had a common interest, going to Guardians games, going on hikes together, talking about what you had in common, and figuring out what you didn't have in common. And if it just ended with friendship, we wouldn't be here today. Because your love had to grow from that, it had to move on. And it moved on into something like romance. We see it in the story of Adam and Eve. Adam wasn't content with just the kind of friendship or companionship that could have come from the animals or from other creation. He yearned for, he desired, he longed for one who was like him. That's why Eve is fashioned from Adam's side. Not his head, not his feet, not some other creation from the dirt like he was, but from his side. A lot of scholars think that Adam, at least as the word is used, wasn't meant to be like a biological man at first, but it was man, generally speaking. And it was only when God divided him, when God pulled Eve from his side, that all of a sudden you had man and woman. You had a desire for someone who was totally other, but who made you whole, who made you complete. Sometimes we laugh at it, we scoff at those lines like, you complete me, or you're my other half. But there's also something real and good about that. A recognition that even in our very being, our very person, in some way we're not complete without another. That we need that other person to be wholly ourselves, and in fact to bring life into the world. That's romantic love. That's what we oftentimes think we celebrate in marriage. But it goes deeper still than that. At the end of that story from Genesis, it says that's why man leaves his father and his mother and clings to his wife. Because we don't just celebrate the love of the two of you together, passionately, intimately, fun, dating, like that's part of it for sure, but we celebrate something deeper. That you go from being part of one family to creating a family together, to creating a family yourselves. That in some way, you image who God is. This little community of love together. And family love is awesome, it's amazing. C.S. Lewis calls it the kind of love for those who just so happen to be there. And he doesn't mean it in a negative way, he means that it's the kind of love that you see older couples at a diner having. Just comfortably sitting there sipping soup across from each other. The kind of love that for those who just happen to be there. And you may have already started to experience this. There came a day when you went from being friends to being romantic partners to having that romantic love to one day there was just an extra outfit at Kyle's house. One day you just decided, I'm not feeling very well, what's on Netflix tonight? There was a kind of love that became comfortable in a positive way. But that has to grow into something more also. St. Paul gives us the map for it in Ephesians 5. And I have to, full disclosure, Ephesians 5 is one of those readings that gets a bad rap because it sounds like, men, you love your wives, and women, you got a lot of work to do. And to be clear, that's not St. Paul's aim at all. In reality, what St. Paul is doing is for his time, taking something that would have been very prescriptive, you must do this, you must do this, you must do this, and he's turning it so that there is a genuine equality. Because what does it mean for husbands to love your wives as Christ loved the church? Kyle, what does it mean for you to love Maddie? Maddie, what does it mean for you to love Kyle? It's the cross. That the way in which Christ loved the church was to give everything for her, to give his entire life away. And that's what we do here today. That's what we celebrate here today. To be subservient to each other doesn't mean that one of you rules the other and the other always obeys. It means that marriage can't be a 50-50 proposition. That you can't hold things back and negotiate, but in fact are called to give 100% of yourself to the other. To give 100% of yourself to the other. And I have to ask the question because it came up in my own prayer and reflection on this is, does St. Paul say that marriage is like death? Yeah, kinda. Kinda. But he means it in a really good way. That we have to die to our own selfishness and self-interest. That sometimes we have to put what we want on the back burner and instead to affirm what the other one in our relationship needs. That Kyle, sometimes you have to say no to yourself in order to say yes to Maddie. And Maddie, that you have to say no to yourself in order to say yes to Kyle. And we experience some pain with this because we always want to love ourselves and have what we want. And St. Paul says, this is a great mystery. But why? We have to look no further than our gospel today. Because you are the light of the world. You are a city set on a hilltop. That your relationship isn't just for you in the privacy of your own home, but the kind of way in which you love one another shows the whole world what love is supposed to look like. So how do we do it? How do we have the kind of love for one another that goes beyond friendship, that goes beyond romance, that goes beyond the comfortability of becoming family? So I thought I would take some of the marriage advice that you've probably heard and give us maybe a more Jesus spin on it, a more biblical spin on it. You've probably heard it said, never go to bed angry. Now you have heard Marty and Karen at Pre-Cana share about how they've been married 37 years and they've never had a fight. And that is awesome for them, and I hope that lots of families never have fights. I've been married 9 years, and I had not a fight, an argument with my wife this morning. Because I had to be at your wedding, which is a joy for us. Sorry. Ephesians 4 says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. Don't give the devil a chance to work on you. That anger we hold on to in our marriage drives a wedge between us. It makes us less able to love each other. It weakens our love for one another. And so it's good advice. Don't go to bed angry. Make sure we learn to practice forgiveness and gratitude each and every day. To be able to say, to give thanks for Kyle, to give thanks for Maddie as we end each day. You've probably heard it said, never keep secrets from each other. I think that's really good advice. Jesus says, let your yes mean yes, and your no mean no. Intimacy, equality, love require being totally honest with each other, totally transparent with each other. And it may be hard at times. Sometimes you'll have to tell the truth that you might be losing your job. You might have to confront one another about a bad habit you're engaging in, a spending habit, a drinking habit, an eating habit. Or maybe you need to tell Kyle that shirt doesn't fit him anymore. We owe it to each other to be totally honest, because that's how we grow in love. And you may have heard it said, happy wife, happy life. And I have to be honest, sometimes Maddie's not going to be happy with you. If we're living our lives properly, if we're loving one another properly, then our goal is to make each other holy. And sometimes being holy doesn't make us happy in the moment. Our goal is to make each other saints. And if each of you has each other's holiness as your goal, then your marriage is going to be golden. And to be clear, one of those goods that you have to have for each other is to return to this place. That your marriage isn't some one and done in the church and then hopefully we'll see you again when, God willing, you have kids and you want to baptize them and get them into the school. Like, hopefully we see you here tomorrow on Sunday to celebrate again this marriage. Because again, you're not just marrying each other. You are just marrying each other. You're not just loving each other for each other's sake, but you're an image of Christ's love to the world. That your marriage should show us our future. And so, Maddie and Kyle, today we celebrate your love and your commitment. We rejoice with you as you two become one flesh. And we rejoice because your love shows us the promise of heaven that all of us long for. You are the light of the world. You're an image of Christ's love for the church and for all of us. May that light shine brightly for all of us to see.